The universe is infinite, but life is limited. If you don't know it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. My name is Zeng Wuji, and the most incredible story in China that I will introduce today is also the most representative, certified by the official TV station. The reincarnation of Chen Mingdao, who died of vendetta in Tang Jiangshan, Hainan, proves that people really have previous lives. I used to teach in a university in Hainan, and at the invitation of the mayor of Dongfang City and my graduate student, I have visited Dongfang City twice for research, so I fully understand that this is true. In Gangkheng Town, Dongfang City, Hainan Province, there lives a second-world strange man named Tang Jiangshan. According to Tang Jiangshan's parents and village elders, one day when Tang Jiangshan was 3 years old, 1979, he suddenly said to his parents, "I am not your child." In Danzhou, near the sea, in the north of Hainan Island, more than 160 kilometers from Dongfang City. He also said that he was killed with knives and guns during the Cultural Revolution. What is even more strange is that he can speak fluent Danzhou dialect. Dongfang City speaks Min dialect, and Danzhou people speak Jun dialect, a special local dialect formed from different dialects. When Tang Jiangshan was 6 years old, his parents couldn't help urging him again and again. Under his guidance, he drove to Huangyu Village, Xining Town, Danzhou City, where Tang Jiangshan's previous life was located. 6-year-old Tang Jiangshan went straight to Chen Zaniang's house and called him "Three Dad" in Danzhou dialect. Said that he was his son, called Chen Mingdao, and was entrusted to be reborn in Gangkheng Town, Dongfang County after his death, and now he is here to find his parents in his previous life. Then he recognized his 2 older sisters and 2 younger sisters, as well as other relatives and friends in the village. What was particularly interesting was that he could also know his girlfriend Xie Shuxiang in his previous life. Due to the story of the past life told by 6-year-old Tang Jiangshan, the scenes of the past life he recalled in the confirmation of his relatives, the relatives and neighbors of Chen Mingdao in Tang Jiangshan's previous life were convinced. Chen Zaniang hugged Tang Jiangshan and cried on the spot, and determined that he was his son. The rebirth of Chen Mingdao. Since then, Tang Jiangshan has 2 families, 2 parents, and travels between Dongfang and Danzhou every year. Chen Zaniang, his relatives, and the villagers all regarded Tang Jiangshan as Chen Mingdao. Since Chen Zaniang had no children by his side, Tang Jiangshan acted as his son and performed filial piety until Chen Zaniang's death in 1998. Tang Jiangshan said that his birth experience was different. "I heard from my mother and adults that when I was first born, I was surrounded by a transparent film, fetal membrane, like a disc, a piece of round and flat. There was no way to get out of this thing. My mother was very anxious and worried. Later, when my grandfather came, he used the common method of the countryside to get a book and fanned it 3 times with the book. The membrane was broken. It was so difficult for me to come to the world." He said, "He had the memory of my past life when I was about 3 years old, and the memory became clearer as I grew up. It reached its peak when I was 6 years old. Now that I have grown up, I haven't mentioned it. It's nothing. As soon as someone mentions it, it's very clear. But compared to when I was 6 years old, I forgot a lot. For example, Danzhou dialect, which I would say when I was 3 or 4 years old. Biamo does not speak Danzhou dialect in this place, and no one talks. I went to the home of my previous life in Danzhou, and I was there in person. I spoke Danzhou dialect very fluently. At that time, I used Danzhou dialect to talk to my relatives in my previous life. Many people were shocked. Now I also speak Danzhou dialect, but no one here can speak it. But I feel that speaking Danzhou dialect now is not as good as when I was 6 years old. Listen to adults. Since I was 3 or 4 years old, I have said to my father many times, I am not from here, my hometown is near the port, I am not from the east, I am from Danzhou, that is, Danxian, named my name is Chen Mingdao, and I live in Huangyu Village, Xining Town, Danzhou. I know my father's name is Sanfa. There is a neighboring village near Huangyu Village. These 2 villages have more people and less land. They often fight with weapons due to land disputes. Guns and even grenades. In the past, there was a deep hatred between the 2 villages. I was killed by a villager of such and such, militia cadres, because the rice mill in our village ran out of oil that day. 8 of us went out to buy diesel. Before we went out, the village elders told us to take a small road instead of a large road when we came back. At that time, I was attacked and killed by the opponent. 6 of the 8 people died, the other escaped back to the village, and 1 was seriously injured. I was hit with a knife in the back of the head, a knife in the left abdomen, and a bullet in the left back from the wound near the left waist. When I was born, according to the adults, there was no scar on the head, but the scar on the left waist was clearly visible. These scars are still vaguely visible. After he finished speaking, he took off his clothes, and sure enough, the scars of the knife were faintly visible. These impressions were formed when I was about 3 or 4 years old, but when I was 5 or 6 years old, I had a hunch that my mother was no longer alive, but my father was still alive, and I had become a lonely old man. Because I had 2 older sisters, the 2 younger sisters gave birth to only 1 boy from me. At this time, both my sisters and sisters were married, and I felt that my father was in a very difficult situation. So I decided to find him. At this time, the situation in my hometown was very clear. There was an aunt in the town who came to our village to do business and sell small commodities. I heard her speak Danzhou dialect, so I told her in Danzhou dialect that I was from Xining and my home was in Huangyu village, and asked her to take me to Huangyu village. My aunt felt strange and refused to take me there. I kept chasing her out of Bumo village. When I was 6 years old, I proposed to my current father to go to Huangyu village, Xining town, Dan County, to find my father's 3rd father in the previous life. But because I was only 6 years old at the time, I was too young. The adults did not believe my words. My father scolded me and said, "How do you know where to go?" I said I did. But my father still refused to take me there, so I slept in my room and cried all day. I didn't eat anything, and I didn't talk to them. After a few days, my father, Tang Chungjin, gave in. He was afraid that something would happen to me, probably after consulting with the village elders. Promised to go to Xining Huangyu village with me. The first time I went to the previous family, Hainan Tang Jiangshan took the adults along the way. He said, after I got to the 8th school by car, I asked my father to buy a ticket to Danzhou, and I got there smoothly. After I got there, I asked my father to buy a ticket to Xining. After getting off at Xining, I took him a long way again until a river, North Gate River. The former Chen Mingdao died near here. As soon as I got here, I was afraid in my heart. So I told my father to cross the river quickly by boat. Later, I went back to Huangyu village many times. Before the bridge and highway were built, I had to pass here. Every time I passed this place, I felt nervous. As soon as I crossed the river, I took my father straight to the 3rd father's house in Huangyu village. The journey was smooth, and there was no need to ask any adults, because I was really familiar with it. As soon as I entered the door, I saw the 3rd father. I saw that the 3rd father was much older. At this time, I walked up to the 3rd father and called him the 3rd father in Danzhou dialect. The 3rd father was puzzled. I explained to him again that I am your son Chen Mingdao, who was beaten to death that year, and was later sent to Dongfang Gangking Bumo village, and now I am looking for you. These words of mine made the 3rd father stunned, unable to react for a while. I knew that I was so young, and the adults didn't believe me, so I ran into the room, took out the magic card that they set up for me after I died, and told him that it was my magic card, and now I am alive, don't put it away on top. And tell him which room and which bed I used to sleep in, and count the things I used to use. The 3rd father saw that what I said was correct, and after confirming that I was Chen Mingdao, he hugged me and burst into tears. I hugged him and cried, and Tang Chungjin's father, who came with me, also cried. At this time, the neighbors were alarmed, and they all rushed to see what was going on. Before long there were more and more people and the 3 of us were just crying, they didn't know what was going on. Later, the father on the east side told them what happened. They listened and cried with sadness. After a sad episode, the 3rd father put me down. I just saw a lot of people at this time. Among these people are the younger brother Chen Juanju, the son of the 2nd father. I was older than him in the previous life, as well as former friends. I recognize each of them, and I went up to call them by their names, and said what they had done with them in the past. It's not bad, they have to admit that I am Chen Mingdao. I came to Huanyu village this time, and spent 3 or 4 nights with my third father. In a few days, the relatives in the village warmly received us and officially confirmed my father-son relationship with my third father. At this time, my mother had passed away, and my second father and son had passed away. 1 elder sister and 2 younger sisters are married, and the third father has become a lonely 5-guarantee household. When I came, he was comforted by his family. But before I was 10 years old, he hugged me and cried every time he came, and he was very sad. When I went to the previous family for the second time, there was a confusion and a fight because of the name of the person who killed me. One day I recognized my first love girlfriend from a previous life among dozens of people. I walked past the crowd, took her hand, and said that you are Xie Shuxiang, we used to be good friends, don't be afraid I miss you so much. Then I told where I walked with her, where I played, what I did, etc. She heard a good point about me, it brought back memories, I was emotional, tears came out, and I hugged me and cried. She cried, and I cried too. I fell in her arms and felt a kind of warmth like a mother. This situation made many people present sad and crying, puzzled. Unfortunately, my third father passed away in 1998, and I brought him money for living expenses a week before his death. But a few days after I returned, Wang Yutuan sent someone to inform me that my third father was seriously ill and might die soon. So I took my wife Liang Zixin and my son Tang Ming to take care of his funeral. My third father died, and my wife and I were very sad. All the funerals were completely in accordance with the customs there, and he was buried in the identity of his biological son, Chen Mingdao. After the funeral, we had no intention of returning to the east to work, and we have been filial piety in Huanyu village for more than 3 months. When I was about to get married when I grew up, the cadres of the village committee had discussed and suggested that I move back to Huanyu village to get married, and each household in the village would donate money to build a new house for us to live in. Of course I am willing to come back to live, which can bring greater comfort to the lonely third father and take care of his old age. But I also consider that my parents will have opinions in this life, and I am reluctant to leave them. The past life has unfortunately caused the third father to be lonely in his later years. How can he bear to create a new separation of flesh and blood now? In addition, the brothers and uncles of Huanyu village are also required to donate money, which cannot be afforded. Therefore, I still decided to get married without grinding and stay with my parents in this life. Although the third father is poor, he also has some housing estates. Now the third father has passed away, but the people in the village think that Chen Mingdao is still alive, and I am Chen Mingdao, and I want these properties to belong to me. I said thousands of miles, whatever I want these things for, I will belong to my second brother Chen Juanju, the son of the second father. The amazing thing is that although Tang Jiangshan has only read primary school for 2 years, he has inappropriate knowledge. He said a lot of words, I feel like I have read it before. For example, when I was 6 years old, I hadn't gone to school yet, but the words Xining, Huanyu village, and Danxian are easy to recognize when I see them. It's the same now. There are many words that I can recognize when I see them, and can read them, but they are difficult to write when they are written. I used to be a militiaman and often got guns. Now I was born in the East, and I have never seen a gun, but rifles and pot-bellied shell guns, except for the new ones, are all familiar to me. I can bring these guns now. Take it down quickly and put it back on very quickly. Now if I have a gun, I can shoot accurately. I drove a 2.5-ton truck before, but now I don't have a car, never drive one. But now I feel that I am very familiar with driving techniques and gestures. If I have a 2.5-ton truck, I can drive it immediately without any additional training. These skills are actually learned in the past, previous life. Dr. Zeng commented, Tang Jiangshan, the story is arguably the most convincing case of past life I've ever seen. There is almost no way to fake it. First, the time span is large. From the age of 3 to the present, it is completely impossible to successfully lie for decades. To borrow Churchill's famous saying, you can fool everyone in the short term, but you will be exposed in the long run. Second, the space span is large. You must know that 100 kilometers in rural China was an insurmountable distance a few decades ago. Think about the concept of a 6-year-old child walking all the way with an adult. It is impossible to make a confession at such a long distance. The third is the large number of participants, at least a few hundred people in the two places, and no one raised any objection. Fourth, there is no motive. Tang Jiangshan voluntarily gave up inheriting the inheritance and even took money to support his father in his previous life. Well, that's all for today, and we will introduce one of China's most incredible stories every day. Hope you all support. Welcome to discuss. Remember to subscribe.